Hi, welcome to Coffee with Yvette. Today I'm having coffee and a catch up with Teja, who is from India. She's an incredible QHHT Level 2 certified practitioner, BQH certified practitioner, and just checking my records, she does so much. She's an Access Bars practitioner, and what I'm interested in today is she's an Akashic Records guide, which is incredible. I want to know more information about that. Now, the last time I caught up with Tasia, there was a massive, unexpected thunderstorm in India. So fingers crossed, the weather's good there today. So pop the kettle on, grab a tea or coffee or water, and come and have a catch up with us. So what are the Akashic Records? What is it in a very basic level for people who might not know?
The Akashic Records are records of all of us, the past, the present, and all possible futures, recorded in a fluid living consciousness, which is of a higher dimension, mostly above the 11th or the 12th dimension. And it has the information of the consciousness or of the living soul since its existence, and all the possible lives it might have led in other realms or on Earth or in other dimensions. All of that information is recorded and stored at, I wouldn't say it's like a place. It's not a library. It's not like it's a physical place. It's more of a consciousness that its only job is to record all of this and keep it within itself. Yeah. And they are a group of guardians, which we call the Akashic Record Keepers and Guides, who are around this consciousness so that no other being can tamper with the records. Yeah. So when we access the Akashic Records, we are basically raising our frequencies to, say, a fifth dimensional frequency, and then opening a portal to connect to the higher frequencies of the 11th and the 12th dimension, and then not going into the records, but just asking the guardians of the records questions, so they will go and fetch the information that we want from the record.
I see. Very much like stepping into a library, isn't it? Very much like stepping into a library and asking the librarian, but in this case, it's the keeper. And interestingly, in my Telegram group, one of the ladies in there, that was one of her questions. And I thought, I don't know the answer to that. And she said, she wondered if you were a keeper, but I didn't know what a keeper was. So would you call yourself a guide where you're guiding people to the record? Yes. And then you access that information from a keeper?
Yes, so I am an Akashic Records guide. Right. I guide my energies to be able to tap into the frequencies of the Akashic Records. But the record keepers are the ones who give the information, because they're very protective of that energy. And the way I see them when I'm connected to the records is like there's this huge fluid energy behind them, and they're all standing guard like light beings, wow, all around the records. That's how I see them, at least. Yes. And when I speak, it's not like I speak through words. It's very telepathic, and the information is given with sensations, with feelings, with visuals, with audio. They sometimes directly speak to me or through me, right, to the clients. So I'm just the guide, or I would prefer the word vessel, yes, through which they channel the information. Right. So I'm not really guiding, actually, to be honest. I'm just asking the questions and being the vessel through which the answers are given to the client.
Wonderful. So do you have to, because I know that you are very psychic, I know that you are, but do you have to be psychic to access, can anybody just, do a meditation and access those higher levels? Or is this something?
So I believe that all of us are psychic beings. Yes. And to some extent, we do have psychic abilities, but you don't have to be a psychic to access the records. Okay. It is practice through practice, because like I mentioned earlier, every one of us has the ability to access these records. Initially, though, they were only allowed to certain people. And after years and years of meditation, that was when they had access to the records. But of late, I think for the last 10 years or so, it's become available to the public, so to speak. It's been declassified and given to the public to access the information that they require to make informed choices. So you don't really have to be a psychic, though I would have to say that you need to be very dedicated, and you have to keep practicing because the conscious mind is something that always tends to interfere. And to decipher between what the conscious mind is telling you and what you're actually receiving, that is the main trick. So
Right.
once you can figure that out, then I'm sure anybody can access the records.
That's incredible. I've had a couple of clients in QHT sessions that have gone to the Akashic Records. I've never, in fact, I've never tried to access them myself. I always think, and for that very reason, actually, you know how you say that you need to decipher whether is it your own mind or ego almost bringing that information through, or is it coming through from the Akashic Records? I don't quite trust myself with that yet, so I've never had a go. But I know certainly one of the questions again from the group was like, where is the Akashic Record? So, and I know you say they're in a higher dimensional, but is it within us? Would you say that the Akashic Records are within us, or is it an external thing?
I think it's a little bit of both, because when I was taught how to access the Akashic Records, we were told that it was a higher frequency and it's in another dimension and you have to open a portal to access it. But when I've been doing this for a while now, but every time I connect, it's almost like it's around me and within me as well. And when I close the records, I literally see a book. Maybe I imagine it like a book. So
Yes.
it closes and it goes back into my head. It's almost like
Wow, it's
going
within
back
you
within
here.
me. So then I, begin to question whether it's within me or is it coming from somewhere else. But I feel that it's a little bit of both. That you need to access it um, in a very conscious way outside of you,
Okay.
but I think it still exists within you because we are made of the same energy frequencies.
Yep.
So we are literally part of the records as well, because our soul information is anyway in the records. And if you have to imagine it, if you were a book in the library, but you still have access to the other books and their information as well. So
Yeah.
are you in the library, or is the library outside of you? That's the question. Like you
I know.
pick yourself out and you can also be in the library. So
Yeah.
it's like a little bit of both.
Okay, that's brilliant. That's a brilliant way to describe it, actually. I love that. I love it. So, of the clients that come to you or people that you see, what are the reasons that you would want to access the Akashic Records?
So the records give you a lot of information, but I would like to say that most of the time, everybody who comes to have these sessions is coming to either validate something or confirm something that they already know, because I believe that all of us, since we are psychic beings, have the information of the cosmos within us.
Yes.
And often it comes out as gut instinct, or this hunch, or that feeling of knowing something but not really knowing that. So when you come for an Akashic Record session with a person who doesn't know anything about your life, or where you've come and how you've become the person that you are today, and suddenly is being presented with information that is very personal to the client, they get the confirmations, they get the validations, because it's not new information. It's information that they already know, but because of that ego mind coming in between and interfering with their thought process, they're unsure whether it's something that they've made up, or it's their imagination, or it's something very silly. So when this validation and clarification comes through, they know for a fact that what they've been thinking or knowing is coming from a deeper place.
Yes.
So I don't think, like, most people come and ask me for information though, but most often it confirms a lot of things that they already know. So it doesn't feel like I'm giving them any new information. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes if they want to know something that is going to happen in the near future, then I give them possibilities, but it is never set in stone. The future is very malleable. You can choose to do this or that or something else.
Yes.
It is never set in stone. So it's just the information that you get to gain clarity.
That's wonderful. And I'd not realised till speaking with you, like literally just now, that the Akashic Records has everything of all space-time, dimension, and reality. So somebody could come to you if they were, considering making an important decision, to see those possible timelines. And that's really important. That's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah.
So have you been finding that you've had any information? I know you sent me an incredible recording earlier about Atlantis and Lemuria. Do you often, get any information about Atlantis and Lemuria and about what's happening right now, with the ascension and all those sorts of things?
So most of the clients that I have ask very personal questions, and when I'm in their records, I'm only accessing their records and not the general information. But since you had presented me with these questions just before our session, so I thought, let me just channel some information and see what comes through. And interestingly enough, about Atlantis and Lemuria, they mentioned that these civilizations predate Earth 64. They were very specific about the number, which made me think that, did we have like 64 Earths before that?
Very possible.
Or we're staying, are we living on an Earth which is probably 68 or 67 or, some other number? So these civilizations apparently have been very, very powerful in the terms of intellect, in terms of their living conditions. They were very high tech and very advanced, but they were destroyed, and they didn't give me enough information about how they were destroyed or why they were destroyed. But I was told that the cracks or the fissures that formed when the physical establishment broke down, like when the buildings or the place where they physically stayed, it started to crack. They showed me some sort of a dark energy coming out of the underground, like underworld kind of an energy. And they said that was when the chaos started. But there was order in the chaos earlier, but the order got disrupted after this energy started leaking out or seeping out of those cracks. Which is very interesting. And they told me not to get into that right now because that's not where I belonged. I belonged in giving the information about these places, but maybe if I channel a little bit more, I can give you information about it.
Yeah, fantastic. And how do you contact the Akashic Record, Teja? What do you do? Is there, because I know that you're certified in this, so is it specific training rather than, I know some people, access them doing, perhaps a YouTube meditation or something like that is specific for that. But what makes your training different? What is it that you did around your training that allows you to access other people's?
So we were taught a prayer to access the Akashic Records. I would like to mention here that there are different ways of accessing the Akashic Records, and I know of other record guides who do it differently than how I do it. Some of them take the questions down and they meditate on the questions and they receive the answers and then get back to the client with the written answers. What I do, however, is a one-on-one. You've experienced that yourself.
It's a one-on-one. Everybody about that.
I channel the information directly and I give it to you as a conversation.
I love that.
Thank you so much. So the records can be accessed through a prayer. It can be accessed through meditation. In fact, I started to channel after my QHHT session, which was done on me. And after that, I suddenly kind of opened up something inside of me that allowed my guides to start talking through me. And I didn't understand because at that point I was new to all of this and I didn't know what was happening and I couldn't control it. And then they led me to the Akashic Record certification course. And that is when I learned to control whatever information that was coming through me. And it was done through a simple prayer. And every teacher has a lineage of the Akashic Records. So the teacher I learned it from, her name is Maureen Saint Germain. She's an American. And she accesses it from the Metatron lineage. So the Metatron is also known as the keeper of the records or the book of life. And she channels directly from under Metatron. So that is how we were taught. There's a great divine director who manages the records. Then there is Sanant Kumara, who's also one of the ascended masters, and then there's the goddess Liberty, who is also part of the records. So we call upon them to guide us into the records.
Yes.
However, when I started learning how to do the records, I understood that when I was having my records read by a colleague of mine during a practice session, he mentioned to me that the channeling that I was doing was coming directly from the records. That made me wonder if those of us who channel information, are we channeling information not from our guides, but from the records themselves?
Yes.
Because we have access to those records. However, apparently that is quite rare that we channel information directly from the records. So to answer your question, I think if you have the ability to connect to those higher dimensions and channel information, you could be channeling from the records directly.
Right.
Or you can learn to do that with a simple prayer. There are many prayers available on YouTube, or you can do a certification course like I did and learn to access the records. But it's a very, very simple method. It allows you basically to focus your energies on connecting with that level of consciousness.
Yes.
And open a portal, so to speak. Not a literal portal, but it's like
be careful.
it's almost you tend to feel like you're in a state of trance, but you're not, because I'm actually like, I do my records like I'm talking to you. There is no difference between me having a conversation with you now and me being in the records.
Yes.
But however, most of the time I would be probably looking away from the screen because they would be showing me visuals like a movie.
I know exactly what you mean there, because when I do remote viewing to do entity, if I'm scanning somebody's bioenergetic field to remove what shouldn't be there, I'm very much the same. But, you're aware that you're there. For me, it's getting into a state of trance. Now, I could open my eyes if I'd got somebody in front of me, but like you, when you're seeing so many wonderful things and you're having to use all your senses to decipher what the messages are or the information, I find it much easier to have my eyes shut and actually have an audio recorder on me, just so that I can speak as I'm seeing. I find that really helpful. But the session, it seems months ago now. It must be about, I don't know, is it about 4, 5, 6 months ago? A long time ago now. Incredible. In that, I remember now, I think I mentioned that when I was about 14, that I woke with lots of lines all over me, all over my legs, almost like somebody had got an eyeliner and drawn very straight lines. And when you access the records, because I've had an experience, I think it was literally a few days before I saw you, where I'd woken, I didn't actually wake fully in the night, but almost could see a huge dark energy over to my left side, and something or somebody was dragging me out. Now, of course, the records were that somebody was trying to extinguish me, literally was trying to pull my light, my soul, whatever, out of my body. But because my guides and team had seen that on the timeline, they'd actually done something to me to ground me in, to ground my energies in. But what the session that I had with, there's lots more that came up, not just that. But what it did was allow me to think about how am I protecting my own energy field at nighttime? Because when I work in the daytime, I'm working with lots of energies, removing entities, lots of interesting work with hypnotherapy, as well as healing. I protect myself and my clients all the time, but never thought about protecting myself at nighttime, just toddle off up to bed and lay down. So now, of course, I always use Dolores Cannon's, I use that beautiful pyramid of white light. So not only do I do that for me, I do that for, my husband, children, over the house. So that actually gave me the kick up the backside I needed to think, actually, we're doing important work, aren't we? All of us, we're doing incredible work. And we have to make sure that we're in a safe place, not just when we're awake. So yeah, loved it.
I just wanted to mention one more thing here. When you mentioned that you tend to close your eyes to have a more immersive feeling, and I do the records with my eyes open, because when I close my eyes, I go into such a deep state that I won't be able to converse and give you the information. I would just be in that zone, So that is why I think we were taught to open our eyes and keep our eyes open during the entire session, so that none of the information is lost, and we are still training ourselves to receive information while being in a waking state as well, not just in a trance-like state.
That makes complete sense, because there are times where I'm having to try and pull myself back. And like, you know, in hypnosis, people can go very quiet and whisper because they're in that trance. And that's exactly what I do. I'm almost whispering and I've got the mic just here. So completely appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. Of all the sessions that you've had, are there any that stand out, you know, that you think, wow, you know, when people come to you? Is there anything that stands out, or that you remember, a particular session that you're able to share?
So most often, once I start channeling, I immediately forget after
I do.
a few minutes. It just tends to fade. But what I have noticed off late, which I'm trying to hone, is that it's never happened with any other reader before of the Akashic Records, but I'm able to connect with dead people. I sound like the kid from 16.
You do.
I guess I've always had that mediumship ability, which I completely shunned off from, you know, when things got too haywire and I kept seeing spirits everywhere and I got really freaked out. So I kind of shut my ability down. And since then, I could never access that ability. And one day, there was a client of mine who had recently lost her husband due to COVID. And she said, is it possible to like connect and ask about him and if he's doing okay? And, you know, and there's so many things that he's suddenly left and I don't know how to deal with. So I said, you know what, let's just give it a shot. Like, I mean, I'm just channeling the information. If they want you to receive that, then why not? And it so happened that when I asked about the husband, I could literally see the person in front of me, like he were living. And I described to the client how her husband looked like, his characteristics, his traits, his personality traits, his behaviors. And sometimes, you know, I'm given specific behaviors which the client can relate to. So that, for example, there was one lady who showed up and she kept showing me her skin, you know, and I was like, what about the skin, you know? And she just kept showing me her skin. And so I told my client, I said, there's something about her skin and she feels very proud of it. And then she went like, oh, that's my cousin, you know, she had beautiful skin and everybody complimented her all the time about it. So it was a validation for the client that I was picking up on the right energies and not someone just walking in. It never happens like that. Nobody just waltzes into the records. So specific information was picked up on, and then if they had a particular message that was delivered to the client, and often the way they are positioned, are they faced towards the client, or they faced away from them, or towards me or away from me, also gives me some information of how the relationship is to the client.
Oh, I see.
So I pick up on, was it a strained relationship? Was it like a happy one? Was it someone who'd passed on years before? Or was it a recent death? All of that information just comes by the way they are shown to me. So this is, again, a very safe method, I feel, of channeling the dead, because you know, the record keepers are the intermediary channel through which I access this information. So it's not like a seance or something that I'm calling on the energies of that person or disturbing them. It is nothing like that. Many people have asked me, do you disturb the dead by doing that, by calling onto them? But it's not that. It's just the energy that I'm picking up on. And if there's any information that they wanted to give but they couldn't, is transmitted through that session. So this is something very new, which I learned during the session that I've been having recently. Yeah, but most often I have reactions of people saying, how did you know that? Like, I didn't even tell anybody about it. The other thing that I picked up was body scans, like which are done on clients in the QHHT sessions, where the scan is done by the higher self.
Yes.
But when I'm in the records and if someone is asking a health question saying that, is my health okay? Do I need to be worried about anything? Immediately I'm shown their entire body, like as if I'm scanning it. And
Wow.
then I'm shown if there is anything wrong with certain organs or certain body parts. And very often it's like bang on. It's
Wow.
probably one time when the lady said like, no, I don't have any pains. And then she calls me back about 10 days later and says, you were right. Like I just developed pains, So I don't know whether I put that in her mind.
Oh, I'm sure you didn't. I'm sure you didn't. But that's like being a medical medium, isn't it? Where you're gaining that information, but this time it's from the Akashic Records, being able to scan and then helping her out where she can then get assistance or make lifestyle changes if needed. That's
Yeah, there was
awesome.
one client in particular who had a really so now I remember it. So there was this one client, she young girl, about 24, I guess, and 24, 25. And I didn't know that she had anything wrong with her because usually, when a youngster comes for a session, you never really think that you
Get
can
the
do a
behalf.
health scan and
Yeah.
see what. So, but she did ask me about it. She said, can you just let me know if I need to work on my body or, something that I need to eat or do that can keep me going? And when I was doing the scan, the keepers kept saying that something about her head, if she doesn't take care of it, something is going to happen. And they kept showing me like a mass of black energy, like how in these cartoons you have those doodles, right? Like
Yes.
all the
Like
scratchy pen kind
spaghetti.
of,
Yes.
yeah, like on top of her head. And I was like, this is very strange. And I asked her, I said, do you have headaches or migraines or anything of that sort? Because I'm being shown this.
Yeah.
And she said, no, nothing of that sort. And the information was so strong. And every time the record keepers have to give you very, very important information, they
Yeah.
heat up my body. I literally feel fire. Like I'm sweating and I'm like really, really hot. And I'm saying, no, this is important. They're saying it's important and that you have to take care of your head. Something about your brain is not right.
Yes.
And she was like, nothing wrong with my brain. Like, everything is fine with my brain. And a few days later, she had her birthday party and she was out with her friends. She says that she woke up at home not knowing what happened.
Right.
She remembers going to the birthday party. She had a drink, just one drink, and then she said she had to head back because her parents were also waiting for her to celebrate. So she says, I remember cutting the cake with my friends and toasting with one drink in my hand.
Yes.
The next thing I remember was the taxi cab I paid by card. And then when I arrived at home, the next thing I know was my parents staring down my face. And apparently her dad found her in the toilet with her mask still on, and she had vomited, and
Yeah.
she was about to get asphyxiated
Yes.
if he
Yes.
hadn't found her at that point.
Oh
And
my
when he
goodness.
tried cleaning her up, she had thrown a really bad fit. And
Yes.
the parents thought that she was very drunk, and that's why it happened. The
Right.
next day morning, the moment she woke up, she remembered about the session, and she said that Teja did mention something about my brain. So she told
Yes.
her parents that, I just had one drink and I wasn't drunk when I reached home.
No.
So there was no way that this could happen. Can I see a doctor? So when they went to the doctor, they realized that she had actually an epileptic fit,
Oh goodness.
which she didn't know, she was not aware of. And it was apparently something that could have been very fatal. And they told her that if she hadn't come and visited them the
Yeah.
day she did, if
Yes.
she had another one, she wouldn't even know
Oh,
that having that fit, and it could have been fatal for her. And since then, she's like, you have, the reading literally saved my life. If I
yeah.
didn't think of that, I wouldn't have gone and seen a doctor.
No, she wouldn't.
And yeah, so that was something which it just blew my mind.
Wow, that's incredible, incredible. So of course that I've had a session and know what happens, but just for the viewers, how is it that you do a session? Because you're out in India, aren't you? Are you still in India at the moment? Yeah. So how do you do the sessions for people? Can you do them all over the world, or Do people have
Yeah,
to?
so I do have clients all over the world. I do these sessions online over a Zoom call,
Okay.
and I take the questions down just before we start so that I don't get influenced by having read the questions the previous day and thinking about it. So I
Yes.
take them down immediately when we start, and then I say that prayer to connect to the records. And once the connection is established, I click the record button on the Zoom call so that we don't miss out on anything I say, because I forget like immediately
Yes.
after. So it's all recorded, and that recording is sent to them via email after the session is done.
Yeah, it's incredible. Is there anything that you think I've missed, Teja? Anything important that you want people to know about accessing, about the incredible work that you do accessing the records?
So the Akashic Records is not the be all and end all of what you have to do.
Okay.
Each of us has free will, and we are allowed to use our free will whichever way we choose to. But the information that comes from the record keepers is information that would benefit you and take you onto the path that you're supposed to be on,
Right.
for your highest and best interest.
Yes.
However, you can choose whether that is what you want, because sometimes the information can be difficult, but it's never happened that you receive information that you're not ready for.
Right.
Information is given in such a loving manner. It's not like you shouldn't have done this, and you're so stupid. Never like that. It is always about your best interest. And at the opening of the records, initially they come through and they give you opening remarks where
Yes.
they tell you some things about yourself which would validate the information that is coming through me,
Yes.
which I would have probably known. But it can also be as simple as saying that they love you and that they're always around you and they're protecting you.
Yeah.
And sometimes the client can feel that energy coming through the Zoom call,
Yeah.
whichever place you are. And they get so emotional that they tend to, break down and cry, or you just have that grin on their face that,
Yes.
oh my God, it's so surreal. But it's an incredible experience, especially if you are in a confused space in your life, if you don't know what the next steps are, if you need some validation about some things that are going on, especially those on the spiritual path. It gives them great clarity on what they should be doing.
That's a big one, a big deal, isn't it? When we see people, they want to know what they should be doing right now because they know it's really important. But, and many people are still in 3D jobs, aren't they? We've still got bills to pay and all those sorts of things. And so they're so desperate. We all are to get on the right path. So that's great that you can access that information.
Yeah. So most people often, whoever comes to me are beginning to wake up to their spiritual purpose, and they're like asking the questions of like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is there something else? So sometimes I describe it as a miniature QHHT session, like a very, very tiny miniature of it, because it does answer a lot of questions, and you don't have to be under hypnosis to gain those answers. And but a QHHT session, however, gives you the experience of accessing the answers firsthand and receiving the healing that the body and the mind require. But the Akashic Records is like a very toned down version of the QHHT session, where you can still receive the information within a span of an hour and have enough information to work with, at least till you are ready for your QHHT session.
So that's great. So that's actually brilliant for people, either if they feel, because we do sometimes get people that are a little bit scared of hypnosis, or they think, no, I'm not going there. So actually this would be perfect, wouldn't it, for them to be able to gain further information to help them. That would be brilliant.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Taya. Thank you so much for chatting with us today about this. It's been fantastic. Thank you. And it's Diwali. Is it tomorrow?
Yes, it is.
And you be celebrating. You go out celebrating.
We tend to light up the house, but I stopped bursting crackers for a very long time. Noise pollution, just pollution in general. So.
Oh yeah. Well, sending you lots and lots of love, and thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Yvette. You're brilliant, wonderful as ever, and hope that whatever you're doing takes off and you reach great heights.
Thank you, my darling. Bye-bye.